Good morning and welcome back. For those of you just joining us for the first time today, I'm Thelma Barker, President of the Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association, National Capital Chapter. Today, ITPA proudly hosts our second virtual event of the year. From in-person lunches to now remote sessions as part of our monthly virtual series. Today, we'll be discussing optimization through leveraging of enterprise services with our guest speaker, Colonel Jeffrey Rector of Disa's Fourth Estate. A little bit about ITPA. The Independent Telecommunications Pioneers Association is a nonprofit professional association created by and for the telecommunications industry. Dedicated to service, ITPA has been serving the public on behalf of telecom companies since 1920. Each year, our national chapter selects and presents awards to officially recognize chapters, clubs, and individuals who have exemplified the principles of pioneering. I'm very proud to announce today our 2020 National Awards. Our Capital Area chapter has been awarded second place, Community Enhancement, and for our 2020 USO Project ELF Christmas Drive. And overall, the first place Pioneer's Choice Award for last year's 11th annual charity golf tournament. These awards and additional donations from our national chapter will directly help our local charities and will be presented this summer during the ITPA National Awards ceremony. To help extend our chapter membership and continue to grow as an association, to set up for the future of success, we've created a mentor-protege program of our very own. This program provides a unique pathway for young professionals within the first 10 years of their careers to join our organization, as well as network and serve our community. Having previously worked with them before, presidents of both past and current from our ITPA Executive Board have nominated our inaugural cohort of ITPA proteges. These mentors and members of our board have been able to and will continue to instill their institutional knowledge and wisdom to help guide these proteges throughout their career. This new program will enable individuals to attend our events, learn about our industry, and lend new ideas and perspectives to our organization. Nominations for our next class is now open. If you'd like to nominate a potential protege for our local chapter, please reach out to us afterwards for more information. A little bit more about the local charities and causes ITPA NCC supports. Every year, our annual charity golf tournament has a team of veterans and service members from SMGA, which include those wounded or injured in post-9/11 military operations. Our annual contributions to our local Juvenile Research Diabetes Foundation Mid-Atlantic chapter help develop life-changing therapies, moving from development through to commercialization that lessen the impact of type 1 diabetes. This past giving season, we were able to double our fundraising goal, and with all of your support, we were able to raise over $7,000 this year for Project ELF. A heartfelt thank you again from all of us at ITPA, as your generosity during this past holiday season was greatly appreciated by each and every one of us. Speaking of our local ITPA NCC chapter, we're thrilled to recognize the contribution of our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors: Avaya Government Solutions, Comcast Government Services, Granite Government Solutions, Hughes, and Lumen. Our gold sponsors: Converge One, Graybar, MetTel, SUS Consulting, T-Mobile Secure Federal Operations, and Verizon, as well as our silver sponsors: BJJ Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point. We are very grateful for our ongoing sponsorship support and thrilled to have an array of new sponsors join us this season. And now, before we begin, a few quick items. We welcome our friends and colleagues from the media. As a reminder, today's sessions are all on the record. Due to the active Disa DES procurement, Colonel Rector will not be answering questions directly related to that solicitation. We thank you for submitting your questions. Our moderator will try to get through as many of them as possible. If you should happen to have any technical difficulties, use the chat box in your toolbar to communicate with our webinar host. And then lastly, today's webinar recording will be available for viewing on our ITPA NCC YouTube channel. If you would like a copy of today's slide presentation, please contact us following the event. And now, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Fred Ferrares. Fred is responsible for Verizon Business Group's Department of Defense sales organization, including the military departments, agencies, combatant commands, and the UK Ministry of Defense and Intelligence Community. Fred has been in his role since March of 2019. He joined Verizon in March of 2016 as a managing principal supporting defense and national security. In that role, he was responsible for managing a sales organization that provides solutions to the intelligence community and the Department of Defense customers within the defense agencies. Previously, Fred served 24 years in the United States Marine Corps, retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 2011. Fred earned a Master's of Science in Information Technology from the Naval Postgraduate School and a Bachelor of Liberal Studies, summa cum laude, in business from Mary Washington College. He is also a graduate of the Marine Corps' Amphibious Warfare School, Command and Staff College. It is my privilege to introduce and send it over to Fred.
Thelma, thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. As Thelma said, our guest speaker is Colonel Jeff Rector. He's the chief of the Fourth Estate Enterprise Services, whose responsibilities include supporting organizations and entities that leverage DISA's broad portfolio of enterprise services and capabilities. Prior to this role, Colonel Rector commanded the 642nd Regional Support Group, which consisted of over 2,200 soldiers and spanned across 5 states. Colonel Rector also commanded 2 battalions, the 2204th Mobilization Support Battalion and the 3rd Battalion, 381st Regiment, where the main objective was to prepare soldiers to deploy and support contingency operations globally. Additionally, Colonel Rector was previously assigned at DISA within the Infrastructure Executive Directorate, where he led the Infrastructure Solutions Group, which included the DISN Technology Refresh Program and the Legacy Technology Elimination Programs. He's a combat veteran. Colonel Rector served in Iraq as the Chief of Operations for the 1st Cavalry Division and the Battalion Operations for the 492nd Civil Affairs. Colonel Rector served in several other key leadership roles, both stateside and in support of contingency operations globally. He's received his Master's of Business Administration from Our Lady of the Lake University in International Business and Management. Additionally, Colonel Rector received a Master of Science degree in Strategic Studies at the United States Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And furthermore, he's a graduate of the Advanced Joint Warfighters course and the National Defense University's Department of Defense Chief Information Officer certification course. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Colonel Jeffrey Rector, and I'll turn it over to Colonel Rector.
Hey, Fred, thanks again, sir. Yes, I'm humbled. Of course, good morning. I'm truly humbled and appreciate ITPA for inviting me to this event, and for all of you joining me virtually and listening to my remarks. First, let's take a moment of silence for our deployed men and women. Thank you. Today, I want to share with you one of our premier IT reform initiatives, the Fourth Estate Enterprise Services, or 4EES, is a bold, aggressive reform program designed to transform the way DoD delivers IT by creating a better digital environment. Next slide. Next slide again. It's important to understand that Fourth Estate Enterprise Services is a subset of the 4.0, or Fourth Estate Network Optimization, and associated activities and decisions that brought us to where we are today. As you all know, the department's digital enterprise is extremely complex and continuously evolving. It was built through the independent resourcefulness of DoD organizations when the concept of enterprise IT was early in its maturity and resulted in individual IT environments that met each organization's needs. Today's challenges: competition, heightened focus on peer and near-peer competitors, growing cyber threats, and the imperative that we maximize finite resources require that we implement a digital enterprise that not only maintains pace with commercial innovation, improves our cybersecurity posture, and delivers IT efficiently, but most importantly, allows the department to fight and defend as a true joint force. Next slide. At the heart of Fourth Estate Enterprise Services is the drive to establish the modern infrastructure foundation and unified approach needed to deliver cohesive combat support capabilities to the warfighter. Any large-scale transformation carries significant risks, as well. To ensure we get it right, we have initially focused our efforts on the defense agencies and field activities, better known as DAFAs. DAFAs essentially consist of 22 agencies that individually own and operate their own IT infrastructure outside of the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. Next slide. This is our environment. So this just shows how many people we currently have within the Disa construct. Next slide. Of course, this is the leadership team from the director down to myself, who's the chief of Fourth Estate Enterprise Services. Next slide. Okay. The Fourth Estate will optimize DAPA networks and service desks under Disa and have Disa to become the single service provider to improve visibility of cybersecurity vulnerabilities, reduce operating expenses, and create a consistent end user experience. In 2018, the DoD CIO, in partnership with Disa, performed a detailed assessment of the computing and network environments of the DAFAs. This assessment cataloged and analyzed networks and compute assets, software, staffing levels, and existing support services contracts. We found that each DAFA operated their own unclassified network, classified network, and service desks. Even more eye-opening was the fact that DAFA IT ecosystems spanned across 850 unique sites, requiring over 1,000 civilian personnel and 600 IT contracts, to successfully operate and maintain the networks and service desks of this ecosystem. While this assessment uncovered the complex and disparate nature of the DAPA IT environment, also showed that organizations whose primary missions were contracting, health, human resources, logistics, and financial services, just to name a few, were dedicating a significant amount of their resources to IT. However, even with this investment, the DAPAs were unable to keep pace with technology advancements and industry best practices due to the prioritization and limited resources needed to execute their mission requirements. This forced many DAPAs to maintain their networks and the department's digital enterprise in a less than optimal security posture. And with the increasing significant role of IT, our networks must enable success across all mission sets. As you can imagine, this entire situation could ultimately place the broader mission at risk. Even though this analysis noted that a more efficient and effective solution was necessary, the biggest takeaway was that each DAPA, regardless of mission, size, or IT budget, provided a common set of IT services to its customers. This insight demonstrated that we could establish a single service provider, as Disa, for the DAPAs, and that this service provider could deliver a common set of IT services like end-user support, voice and video, and cybersecurity, which would then allow the DoD to more easily and consistently adapt industry best practices and modern technologies. This transformation would also reduce costs through enterprise contracting, minimize duplicative IT purchases, and enable DoD to deliver a standardized end-user experience to the customer. Above all, this transformation would allow each DAPA to focus on their core mission and give the single service provider role to Disa, whose primary mission is the hub for this unifying technology effort. The outcome of this detailed analysis is that the DAPAs align with the 4E&O initiative and leverage Disa's enterprise services, which is comprised of the network and service desk migration and investment requirements and projections. This assessment serves as a mechanism to validate our proposed way forward from a cost, schedule, and performance perspective. Knowing your history, it's important to understand where we are going. Now that we've discussed the origin story, let's talk about what we've accomplished thus far. In 2019, our objectives were to establish a shared strategic vision, collaboration, advocacy, and an executable plan to fully realize Disa's fourth estate enterprise services. Then in FY20, we turned from strategy to execution. Disa issued 2 contracts, the Global Service Center and DoDNet, to initiate the 4E&O / and enterprise adoption effort. Excuse me. These contracts serve as vehicles to validate and further enable and define both 4E&O and fourth estate enterprise services requirements and execution plans. And they enable the DoD to initiate migrations for the first phase of DAPAs to the Global Service Desk, minus the Defense Health Agency. Excuse me, which we purposely delayed due to their current modernization activities with Medical Health Services, Genesis. Also, we initiated the migrations of 2 organizations to the DoDNet. Over the next year, we'll migrate the majority of the DAPAs organizations to the Global Service Desk and begin transition of the next set of organizations to DoDNet. These activities will continue to teach us lessons on how we can improve our processes and plans, and we'll set the stage for successful migration activities in the upcoming years. While we have made remarkable progress over the past year and a half in creating the foundation necessary to establish the single service provider for the department. We also recognize that this is not a time for us to rest or relax. This is a multi-year effort, but we have significant work ahead of us. The DoD CIO and Disa are committed to achieving the vision of a single service provider that will deliver capability at the speed of relevance for the warfighter. I look forward to your partnership and support as we continue our journey to transform the current status quo by creating a digital enterprise that is more modern, more secure, and more capable. Any of your questions? That's all I have. Yeah, I'm sorry. We definitely go through the slides right now. Basically, where we live is a overview of the DoD Net, enterprise services, and the global service desk functions. Next slide. Right here is an overview of the DoD Net design objectives and the purpose of instituting DoD Net across the agency. Next slide. So, we have a Q&A.
Okay. Thank you, Colonel Rector.
Yes, ma'am.
Very informative, a wealth of information. And to hold my commitment, our commitment, to not attempt to delve into the current procurement, we'll just move into our Q&A session, okay?
Yes, ma'am, not a problem. Thank you.
All righty. And now I'd like to introduce Tim Heaps. Tim is General Manager of Granite Federal and SLED Government Business. Granite is a $1.6 billion provider of one-stop communication solutions to multi-location businesses and government agencies. Granite serves more than 2/3 of the Fortune 100 companies within the United States and has a $1.75 million voice and data line, 1.75 million voice and data lines under management. Tim's career focus has been improving the mission outcomes of public sector and private sector organizations, spanning Fortune 500 to startups, by resolving complex problems involving strategy, operations, and technology. He has an electrical engineering degree from Catholic University and an MBA from the Darden School at the University of Virginia. And Tim, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and agreeing to be our Q&A moderator. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Thelma. I appreciate it. And thank you to you and the rest of ITPA for bringing this together and more broadly for everything that you do. On behalf of the team at Granite, I'm thrilled to be here. And good morning, Colonel. I hope you are safe and sound given all that has been going on in Texas. Many of you may not know, Colonel lives in Texas, and he personally played a role helping his community deal with the natural disaster that just occurred there. So in addition to serving his country, Colonel Rector serves his community, and we thank him for that as well.
No, thank you, sir. Thanks, Tim. Much appreciated.
Thank you. So let's get started. Just a quick reminder, you can insert your question into the Q&A box. We've already received a number of questions, so let's try to see how many we can get to. And any unanswered questions will be answered and transmitted over the webinar. After the webinar concludes via email. So our first question is from government. What services will Disa provide to agencies that are not scheduled to transition for a few years?
Very good question. Of course, prior to transitioning, Disa will work with each agency to align contract periods of performance, migrate to enterprise services, which consist of DOs, DES, I didn't say that the dreaded word. I said DoD Net, DOs, and O365 to migrate to enterprise services and standardized requirements, tools, and processes. And this normalization will lower costs after the transition to the single service provider environment is established. Hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely, thank you. And what is the projected completion date for the optimization effort?
Right now, we're tracking the projected completion date for the optimization effort being right at 2025.
Okay, thank you. And we've got another question in from industry. What will the end result of this effort look like?
That's a great question. The end result would be a single service provider, being Disa, that provides quality common use IT services. Disa provides solutions, capabilities, and support to the warfighter from the desktop to the tactical edge with secure communications. Not to mention cloud storage and assured identity, continuous multi-factor authentication. And these services and capabilities would allow us to fight and win in cyberspace. Over the next 5 years, Disa's 4.0 program will continue to migrate additional agencies and field activities, common IT services to Disa, which will improve cybersecurity and operations for the enterprise. This effort will result in more than 800 government IT personnel transferring over to Disa.
Excellent, thank you. And so at the next level of detail down, this is another question from industry. What is the Fourth Estate Network optimization effort?
Okay, great question, of course. As threats within the cyberspace domain become increasingly sophisticated, the DoD is looking for solutions to eliminate unnecessary complexity within the IT space. The 4.0 effort aims to establish a single network with a single service provider, being Disa, to control cost, drive service excellence, and mitigate risk. Further, this project will maintain seamless security, interoperability, managing costs, challenges, and a synchronized effort with the DoD level enterprise capabilities. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So our next question follows right along with that, and it's from the government. What is the impact to the 4.0 workforce?
Of course, a great question. Within the DoD, our workforce is our greatest asset. And we're continuously and actively working to ensure the most seamless transition possible. Impacted individuals will be functionally, organizationally, and operationally realigned to Disa with no impact to their current geographical location. Over.
Excellent, thank you. And who is charged with executing this effort within Disa?
Currently, it's the 4.0 program under the leadership of Mr. Means. He's the Defense Enclave Services Office. And he's charged with executing this effort by moving the agency onto the newly optimized network known as DoDNet.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think we have time for probably one or two more questions.
Yes,
so
sir.
The next question is, what can industry, and more specifically ITPA, do to support you?
Now, basically, just continue to provide us, information and a way to collaborate and understand what new technologies are out there, so we can definitely try to leverage those new and fresh capabilities and solutions. Over.
Thank you. We will continue to do our best. Appreciate that. And the last question is, what key message would you like to share with this government industry audience?
It's a couple. I would definitely want to say my key messages are, pretty long-winded here. I don't want to be too far drawn out, but definitely understand that this is whole job is to enable lethality across all warfighting domains, defense of our nation, which we're the premier IT combat agency, and we're a trusted provider to connect and protect the warfighter in cyberspace. But our strategic plans align with the National Defense Strategy and Department of Defense CIO's digital modernization strategy. And understand this, our strategic direction is to adopt before we buy and buy before we create solutions to support our mission partners. After that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Colonel Rector, we appreciate your candor here today. We also applaud your willingness to take time from what I know is a very busy schedule to provide your perspective to a joint government industry audience. The missions that you support obviously are critical to our country. And this kind of exchange really moves that ball forward and allows all of us to help make sure those missions are as supported as they need to be. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your service to our country. And thank you for your service to the community during the crisis that just ended.
Yes, sir. I want to definitely thank you, Tim, and Fred, and Thelma, and the whole team, and just say thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very humbled and sincerely appreciate the time, and I look forward to working with you all as things progress. But thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool.
Back over to you, Thelma.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So first of all, if you all could join me in a virtual round of applause for Colonel Rector.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I applaud you all as well. Thank you.
Tim, thank you very much for conducting that Q&A moderation. Much appreciated. And Fred, again, thank you for the introduction. Okay. Once again, a very special thank you to all of our sponsors this season. We greatly appreciate our platinum sponsors, Avaya Government Solutions, Comcast Government Services, Granite Government Solutions, Hughes, and Lumen. And then our gold sponsors, Converge One, Graybar, MetTel, SUS Consulting, T-Mobile Secure Federal Operations, and Verizon, as well as our silver sponsors, BJJ Associates, Collab 9, Corning, Equinix, GBI, GES, and Turning Point. We would not be able to host these virtual sessions without your valued support. And Colonel Rector, one other item. We want to especially thank you for the flexibility of your schedule. We know we had a bit of a scheduling challenge in December, and traditionally December has been our DoD or Disa luncheon month. And we're just extremely happy to be able to have you this month. And we look forward to DoD supporting us again, hopefully in person, December of 2021.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, and I'm appreciative.
As we briefly mentioned earlier, with your support and our entire community, we were able to ensure our military families had a great holiday season despite the pandemic. I know all of our local communities have been impacted by the pandemic this past year, and I hope that you and your loved ones are all safe and in good health. With that in mind, over our first few spring virtual webinar sessions, we will be reaching out to join together in raising funds for our local capital area food bank, as they're in need, much need of assistance. It's growing now more than ever. As the coronavirus spreads across the Washington region, a sudden and significant spike in the need for emergency assistance directly impacted our local community. Those already struggling with food security or food insecurity sought to create food reserves per the recommendations of preparedness officials, and those who were newly unemployed sought help for the very first time. Before the crisis, we were seeing approximately 300 to 400 families per week. Now it's more like 1,200 families weekly. The demand from our community is palpable. This was a direct quote from an official at St. Stephen's Church in Camp Springs, Maryland, an organization who is greatly involved in supporting the Capital Area Food Bank. Our own Capital Area Food Bank network of nonprofit partners has been seeing between 30 to 40% increase in the number of people coming through their doors ever since the start of the pandemic. Simultaneously, as the need for social distancing was passed down by health officials, over half of the food bank's 450 nonprofit distribution partners had to suspend their service. Though many partners have needed to suspend their service, the Capital Area Food Bank has adapted its model to distribute both to its 200 network partners that are currently open, as well as to 20 community hubs that have committed to staying open alongside the food bank and at pop-up pantries on an as-needed basis. As we near the one-year mark since the outbreak of the pandemic began, we're looking to help out now more than ever, as some families have been directly affected by these trying times. This year, ITPA NCC, will be matching up to $3,000 between now and our April virtual event for our local Capital Area Food Bank. A link to the page will be live on our website where you can donate, and it will also be hyperlinked in all of our digital platforms. For more information on COVID donations to support the Capital Area Food Bank, starting next week, you will be able to visit our website and click on our designated COVID charity page to donate directly. For all of the latest chapter updates and developments, please visit our website at itpancc.org and follow us on LinkedIn. Upcoming spring events. Join us in March as ITPA presents a small business focused event with guest speakers from GSA to discuss the upcoming Polaris GWAC. We'll have Keith Nakasone, Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Acquisition, and Carlton Schoffelberger, Acting Director for IT Services from GSA's IT Category Organization, to provide updates on new small business procurement vehicles. In April, ITPA, in collaboration with Electrosoft Services, Inc., will host the third in a series of virtual cybersecurity summits on meeting the cyber challenge of the future. Mark your calendars for Thursday, April 22nd. The 9 a.m. to noon webinar will showcase an impressive lineup of invited opening keynoter, Brandon Wales, Director of CISA, followed by 2 engaging panel discussions on identity management and zero trust, with invited speakers Philip Lamb, Director, Identity Management, GSA, Reed Baldwin, Director, Enterprise Security Services at DHS, Matthew Scholl, Supervisor Management and Assistance at NIST, and other cyber experts. The On the Record event will draw over 150 attendees, and it is free to attend. A special donation award presentation will be made at the end of the event for ITPA NCC's new STEM scholarship program. Much more to follow. The event registration site will be open next week. Please visit our website at itpancc.org for more information. In closing, a special ITPA thanks to our speakers, sponsors, and special attendees for joining us. We have a great spring season in store for you. You're not going to want to miss these timely events. Again, Every dollar donated to our Capital Area Food Bank drive equates to 2 meals. Please follow us on our virtual platforms for the latest webinar and charity updates. Thank you, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your day.